Hey, what's up guys? It's Adam from Lazy Guy DIY, and normally when I'm sitting in front of the fireplace here, it would be roaring, I'd be on my bearskin rug, and I'd have a glass of Cavassier. But right now, we're gonna do something a little more family friendly, and what we're gonna do is, my wife and I are big puzzle nerds. We like to put together puzzles, but we have a problem. We do them on the coffee table here, but if you see, there's a jerk cat sleeping up there that would go and knock off puzzle pieces when we're not watching in the middle of the night, and we have little kids too, so they'd run off and knock everything over, so we just cannot have puzzles out. So I teamed up with my friends from DAP, and I said, hey, I'm gonna make a puzzle tray. So this goes right underneath our coffee table. I'll slide it out here, and sure, it's a normal puzzle tray. We start working on here, but what are you gonna do with all the other pieces? So it expands out, and you can put your pieces in here. You can do any sort of arrangement you need to get together, but it all folds up, it goes underneath, and it lets you do your puzzle without anybody running off with anything. So we want to show you how we made this, and thanks again to our sponsor DAP, and let's get building. All right, let's get building here. Now this is a pretty simple build as far as materials. There's only 3 pieces, so I'm using a piece of underlayment here that's 1/8 inch, really thin plywood. It is a 4 by 2 foot sheet, and I have 2 of those, and then I have an 8-inch piece of poplar that I just cut scraps off of. So right now I'm ripping this poplar down, and these are the stretchers on the side. So this build can be a little complicated to people if you do not have a dado stack, and you don't need one actually because you can replace those pieces. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set this up to cut grooves, and these are what the underlayment is going to fit into. So before we get confusing here, I'm going to show you this whole build. You can see these little keyhole pieces on the end. Those are not going to be tied in permanently. They're just going to slide back and forth, but you can see the little groove up top, and what that's going to do is you're going to have the top of the underlayment board where the puzzle is going to sit on, and then it's going to act as a drawer bottom as well. So you see the 2 grooves here on this blue piece, and that shows where the underlayment is going to fit into, and this whole frame fits together, but like I said, it's not permanent. So as you see, we have a middle support here, we have the underlayment on the bottom, and those 2 end pieces will slide off with a drawer. And you see this is a bit of the drawer assembly, and you see the dado cut there because we're going to make grooves or dados for a sliding track for everything to fit into. So all the plans for this are going to be available on my website, and it's going to be step by step, but it will not be that difficult, I promise. All right, so what I'm doing now is I'm just ripping some more poplar to 2 inches, and these are going to be the stretchers and the end pieces or the drawer faces. And what you'll see here, I'm going to cut them to length, and I'm going to do sort of a mortise and tenon, just how they fit together, sort of like a keyhole, and it's going to fit a little bit looser. I'm going to show you with my dado stack here. You do not need a dado stack to do this. As long as you have a table saw, you should be able to make these cuts, and you can clean them up with some sandpaper or a chisel if you have it. But what I'm doing now is marking out the female component to the piece that go together here. So it's just going to be 3/4 inches, and I'm going to set it up, and then I'm going to put it on my table saw here. And a dado stack makes it super simple, but if you don't have it, that's okay. You can just use a rip fence here. It's just a scrap piece of wood, and I have it secure on here. I'm going to turn on my dado stack, and we're going to cut the 3/4 inch groove. And this is going to fit, it's 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch. So that was the female piece. Now this is the male piece. I'm going to flip it over here and then cut that. And like I said, it's going to be a little bit looser because these are not going to be permanently fixed together. It's supposed to slide in and out. Now what we're doing is we're cutting the grooves for the underlayment. This is just so they can fit there for the top piece of the puzzle. It's going to hold it. And now I'm cutting another piece of poplar to, I believe it's 1 3/4 inches. And this is just going to be my middle support. We're going to glue this on here. I don't need to tack it. I'll just glue it with our sponsor here. That's DAP. That's our Weldwood product. It's great wood glue. So put it on generously, attach it on, and then I'm going to put something against it here just to clamp it down and get it set. And now we're going to attach these stretchers. So this is why we cut the 1/8 inch groove on each side here. You can see the underlayment fits right in, and we have our middle support there. So I just did the bottom, and I'll do the top as well. But you notice I did not put the sides in because they're not going to be permanently affixed. I did it just to set up and kind of see, but we're going to let that set up and glue. So while that's setting up there and drying, we're going to start cutting our pieces for the drawer box. So again, I'm cutting some poplar, and I think I have something else mixed in there too, but it doesn't matter. But I'm cutting these to 1 3/4 inches, and you notice these little pieces that I'm cutting off on the ends there. Save those because we're actually going to use those for our track, our sliding track later on. So cutting these down, and then I'm going to add another groove that's an 1/8 inch groove. You may have to do more than one pass just because the underlayment's 1/8 inch, and the width of the blade is also 1/8 inch as well. So I'm cutting these pretty thin, and this is what the drawer bottoms are going to fit into. So we run these through, you can see them, and then I'm going to set it up one more time here, and these are going to go on those end pieces because I only cut one groove for the top for the board to slide into. And now, because this is the drawer front as well, I'm going to run these past again, and that's what the drawer bottom is going to fit into. It's all going to make sense, I promise. All right, you see I saved those little end pieces there, and I'm setting up my dado again. And this is a thing where I'll show you in the instructions where you can skip this part if you don't have a dado, but these are what the drawer slide's going to go into. You can use normal drawer slides, but I'm going to cut that groove. I'm going to use those little extra pieces, and you'll see me attach them here in a second. But it's just a wooden drawer slide. It's really simple to do. You see right here, it just attaches to the inside and just slides. And so this one piece is going to attach to the drawer front there, and those little thin pieces are just going to attach to the inside of the frame or the bottom of the puzzle tray here. So I'm going to glue them on. I'm going to set them. And I let them set up here for a few minutes. We're going to do some time lapse, obviously. So I set it in there and make sure I clean up some of that glue that seeped out. And once it dried, I went back and I did tack it with a pin nailer just to make sure it didn't move. You don't have to if your glue dries. You see some of that squeeze out there. We want to clean that up because we don't want these pieces to get stuck on there. So now what I've done, I'm going to measure. I've got my 3/4 inch there, I believe. I'll get the exact measurements and the plans. And we're just ripping an extra piece here for the back. And I'll show you how I assemble drawer boxes. Very simple. I just slide the underlayment in to the grooves that I've cut on everything else. And then that bottom piece, you'll see it attaches to it here. So now what I'm doing is I'm assembling these drawer boxes, and I just use my Adapt weldwood again and let that set up and dry. Make sure if it's cool like it was in my shop that you give it plenty of time to dry. If you need to tack in some brads, go for it, but everything worked out fine. Letting this set up here again too. We're clamping in. And while that's drying, we're gonna cut the pieces of underlayment also for the drawer box. So let this go, and here's our underlayment again. So like again said, just 2 sheets of underlayment, pretty easy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a little bit of glue in the groove I cut, and then I'm just gonna shove this piece of underlayment down. I'm gonna let that set, and then what we'll do after it dries a little bit is just flip it over, and you see that short piece I cut. I'm just gonna brad nail it in here, or just tack it in with a pin nailer, and then your drawer's good to go. And you see we're on the slides. It slides perfectly. You can put a little wax on there and have no issues at all. So pretty simple build for the most part. Like I said, we can skip some steps, and I can show you some easier ways on the website. But hey, great way to store your puzzle and not lose your pieces. All right, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the build here. There are some advanced techniques, so if you aren't used to using a dado stack, or if your table saw doesn't accept those, that's okay. There's ways to get around that, which I can show you in the full write-up on my blog on lazyguydiy.com. But hopefully this gives you an idea of something that you can do to save your puzzles as well from kids and cats. But if you enjoyed this here, please give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment in the notes here, and then make sure you check out this video up here, and make sure you subscribe down here. All right, guys, thanks, and we'll catch you on the next project.